Strap in, guys. This is gonna be a feels trip. Hey guys, it's Perk, and today we are gonna be playing Narcissu. God, I've had my eye on this game, this visual novel, for a wee bit now. I've had it for a little bit. It's been in my field of view, pretty much ever since I started. Ever since I had the idea of doing Storytime Saturdays, I've had this game in my field of view and wanted to get it and wanted to put it on the channel somewhere, just because it seemed way too interesting to not to. But the one thing I do know about it is that we are probably all going to try to shed tears. This looks like Wolf Children, but this looks like a Wolf Children feeling with not as much happiness at the end. That's what it looks like to me, if you're asking. But just so you guys kind of know what you're getting into, because I feel like it's only fair, I'm gonna read you guys the description straight from Steam. So, this is a story of disease and suffering, of medication and adverse effects, of thoracotomy scars and cellular poisons, of the living who cannot help but to die, and the dying who cannot help but to live, of a resting place other than on SF or at home. So, this is going to be a legit feels trip. I already know it. I can't help but be excited because I do want to know what the story behind it is. I really do. I don't know anything about it. I'm going into this completely blind. All I know is that I know that it'll hurt my soul a little bit on the inside, and then I'll regret it later. But that's later, that we can regret things together. For right now, we need to jump into this. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, we have a snack, and because we are going to be going into something where we're going to feel really, really bad, I decided I'm also going to take myself back to my little kindergarten, third grade self, and my little 13-year-old self said, let's get some applesauce. I've got 2 things of applesauce as well as some water, of course. So we're going to jump right into this, and we're going to try not to cry too much, all right? Guys, keep tally in the comments of how many times I start to tear up, all right? So let's start this out. But even so, I went to grade school normally during summer vacation. I played until I was very tanned, very dark. June, soon after entering middle school. The day after we ordered swimsuits for the swimming class that would start next month. That was the first time I experienced being admitted into the hospital. Just a little before the first semester midterms, a day where the rain that started to fall felt awfully cold. In the midst of that pure white sky of the rainy season, in the beginning, everyone in the class came to visit me each day. And when I was discharged from the hospital during the weekends, they would come to my house to play. But that was just the beginning. Fall came, winter left. Hospitalized, discharged, outpatient care, and then starting again with hospitalization. Classmates who were called friends, at some point became acquaintances, and then turned to strangers. With each turning of the season, it seemed that I was disappearing from their memories. It looks like it makes them uncomfortable. For those who live normally, my very existence, that's why I seem to have been erased. Numerous seasons, white overcast skies, pass without even the need to exchange words with anyone. My English textbook from the first year midterms onwards remained brand new. Oops. It was there that my time seems to have stopped. Early summer 2004. 8 years later, 2004, early summer protagonist. Summer, flowing sweat. In the driver's license examination area, a large electronic bulletin board was installed. All at once, the lights came on, and like everyone else there, I searched for my own number. 237. 237. Scanning amongst the mostly lit light panel, I found my own examination number. Kathunk, kathunk. Because it was just past midday, the train car was mostly empty. In that empty car, I was on the way home from the examination center. In my left hand was the traffic regulations manual I had just received. In my shirt pocket was the brand new license. With this, I'm also normally licensed, eh? I murmured somewhat seriously, but didn't feel any particularly strong emotion. It's not like I wanted to drive cars, nor did I really have another purpose in mind. It was just people around me were going to the training center, and I recommended that I at least get a driver's license. That night, when I reported to my parents that I had gotten my license, "Is that so?" was the short reply. As an experiment, I tried saying that I wanted to borrow the car, and just as shortly came a "you can't." It wasn't like I wanted to drive the car, but the response was exactly what I had managed. They were those sorts of parents. The next day, upon waking up, my chest hurt, and so I was taken to the hospital. Normally, I had little to do with things involving sickness. That was why waiting in the initial waiting room felt extremely boring. Finally, just when I thought the examination was over, this time I went to take x-rays and blood tests, was made to go. On top of that, for a long, long time, I was made to wait in the boredom. Without noticing, I had finished reading 3 books of jump manga that was in the waiting room and was reaching for a 4th. And just like that, I was made to do the paperwork for being admitted into the hospital. The brand new driver's license that still lay in my shirt pocket, it looked like the time for its debut was a ways off. Autumn 2004, protagonist. Around when those very noisy cicadas had stopped crying, as usual, I was in the hospital. Of course, it wasn't like I was always admitted into the hospital. I would be in and out. Last month, I had my first experience with surgery. After being discharged, I commuted 5 minutes for outpatient care by scooter. And even from then on, admitted, discharged, outpatient care, gradually moving to being admitted again. I didn't know anything about PET or IRESSA, but I noticed through the comings and goings that a number of months have passed. In exchange with my decreasing appetite, the types and amounts of drugs increased. Even I could see with my own eyes that my strength was declining. My legs felt a bit thin, but that's not your imagination, the needle on the scale would tell me. And yet, I was looking at myself somehow objectively. as if watching a stranger, like looking at a single scene on television. The sudden things that happened to my body, my head, couldn't keep up with them. The feeling that what was happening wasn't real didn't arise. And so, even though it was supposed to be my own body, I could only watch myself from afar with cold eyes. Winter 2004. Winter. Around when Christmas trees were disappearing from the streets. Perhaps it was due to it being the end of the year, but I was allowed to return home. In the end, it seemed to only be temporary, but even then, I was a bit happy. A mix of rain and sleet, I returned home for the first time in a while. For some reason, everyone in the family was gathered. Even though my parents normally didn't speak much while being a bit stiff, they smiled at me. The little sister who I always argue with made my favorite ice cream stew and fried shrimp. My favorite cream stew and fried shrimp. We sat next to each other on the kotatsu. They peeled mandarins for me. They were excessively kind. That was the impression it left. During this time, I had just a bit of a realization. Still left in the pocket, that brand new license. That license, without giving rise to any practical value, might expire. While having stiff, unnatural smiles directed at me. Calmly, vaguely, rather simply, I thought of that as if thinking of someone else. January 2005. The new year came and I returned again to the hospital. For some reason on that day, I didn't go to the 4th floor, but instead to a conference room was made to go. There with my father and a doctor, I heard many things, was made to listen. It was that thing called notification, probably. They had an extremely indirect way of speaking, but in the end, it seemed like I was going to die. Damn. Damn. Okay. I see. That was why. I was only able to reply with that. I couldn't find other words. From when I entered until I left my room, that was all I said. Accepting my answer, the doctor moved to the ballpoint pen in his hand. Most likely it was the paperwork for the hospice. To the very end, he was very businesslike. My father was very much the same. It was such a simple thing. That was my honest impression. And then between that day and the next, I changed from the 4th to the 7th floor, from a 6-patient room to a single. And also, the 7th floor itself was a bit different from the other floors. For one thing, the floors were sparkling. The ceilings were much higher, much broader. Inside the rooms, it was extremely clean. The large windows seemed designed to let in lots of light. However, the windows only opened a tiny bit. When I tried measuring, it was just slightly smaller than allowing your head to pass through. The other thing was the color of the ID bracelets changed. Since the day I was admitted, a vinyl bracelet was always wrapped around my wrist. Upon it was my name and blood type. The color had changed from blue to white. High ceilings, white vinyl bracelets, windows that could only open 15 centimeters. The day I was transferred to the 7th floor, It was when the boring New Year's programs were still being broadcast. The time I met her for the first time was also at the very beginning of the year.
Narcissus. Ryu. 7回.
Across the hall, facing the nurse's station, was a lounge-like place. Left in that unpopulated place was a number of sofas, folding chairs, and a large television. On that 28-inch CRT, a meaningless New Year's program was running. Watching that boring television with an equally bored expression was some girl. She had a small build and wore pink pajamas. Her wrist had, just like I did, a white bracelet. Hair that was to her hips left an impression. Hey you, is that interesting? There wasn't any particularly deep meaning. Since there was no one around, I tried speaking to her profile.
別に.
Not particularly. That was all she replied with. She didn't even turn towards me, even though I had spoken to her. Perhaps she had absolutely no interest in me. She continued to gaze at the television with a bored look. If it's boring, you don't have to watch it. As I thought that, I also sat down in a folding chair. And sitting next to her, I gazed at the television. There was nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. Oh man. Oh man. Quietly, we continued to gaze at the television. On the screen were the usual New Year's programs, pathetic impersonations and parlor tricks. Occasionally ringing out the host's stupidly high-pitched laugh. In the pure white, sunlit room, it dryly reverberated.
ねえ、あなた.
Suddenly, the girl spoke to me while still gazing at the television.
あなた、何回目?
Okay, so since all the translation or all the voices are in Japanese, I went ahead and I just turned it off. I'll just read it all out. I was hoping that they'd be in English, but apparently not. Oh well. You're on which time? Which time? What does that mean? Coming here? The 7th floor. Sorry, I don't understand the meaning of the question. I see. It's your first. It seemed that at my inability to understand what she was saying, she had up and gotten satisfied with the judgment. Well, there's no one else around, so it's my duty. Duty? There's that kind of rule. While nodding, she added that there is a rule for someone to teach the people who first come here to the 7th floor. Even now, I understood nothing. And as if ignoring me, the girl slowly began speaking. Well, listen closely, alright? The girl's words came by ones and twos. They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I had heard up until coming here. In that businesslike speech from the doctor, it was said that this was a place to await the advancement of medicine. It was also called a place for healing the heart, Most likely, broadly speaking, that was probably correct. However, from what that girl said, that was a facade. The 7th floor was within the hospital, but was the only place that didn't give treatments. Simply a place to wait for the end of life. We all knew it. But when it says it, it just hammers it back in. It's no bueno. We all knew it, but when it's hammered back, that's what the girl said. That's what I also felt and had the same perception. I'm only my 2nd time, you see. 2nd time? What's that? Coming to this place. And the girl taught me. This place called the 7th floor. To be here from the moment of admission all the way until dying, first of all, apparently didn't happen. Even if being cursed was impossible, if your health becomes better, they would allow you to come to go home once. That didn't make sense. Okay, that was just poor translation. Making sure. But after a while, and it turns bad. After a while, it turns bad. Once it turns back, you come back again. Amongst those comings and goings, eventually, you die. The place where life ran out. It was only deferred between home and the 7th floor. Without fail, one would die in either of those. It seemed no one has ever escaped that. It was with that meaning that the girl had meant by saying it was her 2nd time. Well, I'll only say this once. So from here on, listen well. Still looking at the dull screen, the girl continued speaking even more. The subject being not about what time the lights would be out and the normal sorts of topics exchanged between admitted patients. She taught me about totally different things. On the 3rd time, you're given a temporary discharge. Oh, sorry. On the 3rd time, you're given a temporary discharge. Prepare yourself. There's never a 4th. You won't be going home anymore. If there's a time that you want to run away, go not to Station A, but towards Station B. Don't eat anything. That is the shortest path. It will end with the least burden onto your family. It was only full of these sorts of topics that gives one pause. Most likely it was something only for the people who came here. Through just those who participated in moving towards death, these were the things that have continued to be passed down. Damn. Starvation is the only legal way to kill yourself. I wonder if it's the same in Japan. Damn, that's kind of fucked. That's really fucked. Was the duty you mentioned earlier this? Yes, that's right. Someday you tell it to newcomers too, okay? With those final words, the girl slowly stood up. Gently, her long hair swayed and brushed the tip of my nose. Well, it's time for taking temperature, so. And then, just like that, with her back facing me, she began walking towards the hall. I was left alone in that place, with the laughing voice from the screen and the white flowers decorating around the window. In the end, the girl never once looked in my direction. Oh my god. Dude, this is heavy. We're not even 20 minutes. We're like 20 minutes in and it's so heavy already. Holy fuck. Shit. Bro, this is heavy. She real deal just said, if you're gonna kill yourself, well, if you're gonna run away, go to station A, not B. If you're gonna kill yourself, just don't eat. It's the shortest way to get to death that'll cause the least amount of burden for your family. That's kind of crazy. That's really crazy that just being on this floor, they tell you the different ways to like keep things. Like, that's kind of fucked. They're like, yo, no one ever comes back for a fourth time. No one ever does this. No one ever does that. They just straight up tell you. That's kind of fucked. It's like, people are here because they're gonna die. If you want to help yourself out, don't eat. Like, that's so fucked that they would just do that. I mean, I understand, because, like, if you're that close to death and no one's going to tell you that you're that close to death, they're not going to be honest with you, but you already fucking know. I mean, someone's got to be real with you, so it might as well be the other people who are, like, have to live through the situation, so. Or have to not live through the situation. Damn. Okay. Shit. Heavy as all fuck, man. From then, when a few days have passed, finally the New Year's programs ended, and soon the third terms of middle and high school will be starting. Today in the lounge, once more, the figures of the girl and I were staring at the television. It's boring, isn't it? Indeed. The word came back in reply, but both of us were conversing while continuing to gaze at the screen. Hey, is this place always like this? I don't understand the meaning of your question. I meant how there's no one around. Nurses, doctors, and added to that, helpers. And add to that the helpers, if you take them out then aside for your own caregivers, I had never seen anyone else. I guess it's because it's the New Year's. You want to know the reason for that? No, it's not like that. No, it's not like that. It's not like I meant that. Then I won't say. In exchange, that wasn't even a conversation. We indifferently exchanged back and forth. A slight breeze came into the windows, A slight breeze came from the windows that couldn't open more than 15 centimeters. Occasionally, it would sway the girl's hair, and in the same way, would sway the white flowers decorating around the windows. The two of us, while watching the boring television, were only spending days passing time. Don't know what the fuck that was supposed to be. Oh, somebody walking in. Okay, got it. That was what the pitter-patter was. I'm like, pitter-patter could be a lot of things. Oh, the two of you were in a place like this. Saying that while she rushed up was an elderly nurse. From just glancing at the nurse's station once in a while, This person seemed to be the chief of the 7th floor. So, Setsumi-san, you don't have a fever? So, Setsumi-san, you don't have a fever? It's alright. I don't have one. Setsumi? Apparently that was this girl's name. You can't be roaming about outside. You can't be roaming about outside without any permission anymore, okay? Alright. Everyone gets worried. That doesn't really matter. My, what kind of statement is that? Really, girls these days, there's just no helping them. And for a while more, the nurse continued scolding. To that, she, the girl, called Setsumi, let it go by with an indifferent expression. As if ignoring the somewhat noisy nurse, she continued watching the boring screen. Well, later I'll be coming to take a blood sample, alright? With those final words, once again, the nurse returned back to the nurse station. God. She gives no fucks anymore. No fucks anymore, man. That's crazy. Hey, you. I mean, I can call you Setsumi, right? Wrapped around the girl's wrist was the white vinyl bracelet. While looking at the blood type and name there, I asked. I usually put a ... here, but like, I feel like she doesn't even want the ... I can't. I don't know. Is something wrong, Setsumi? Why is there no honorific? What? Even though you're the younger one. Hey, why is it that I'm the younger one? No real reason. I just thought so. It wasn't that I was upset at the word younger. It was just, no matter how you look at it, one would believe I was 5, 6 years older. That was why I took out the license that was in my chest pocket and showed it to her. How about it? Even though I look like this, I'm 20, you know. Like I thought. Younger. With just a glance at the license, the girl gave only that reply. Hey, I don't really get it. It doesn't matter, does it? It's only just a bit older. As always, the girl spoke softly with no expression. Those eyes, while looking at the boring television, I felt that they were also looking at some place far away. And for those who aren't very engrossed in Japanese culture, when they say honorific, that's the san, chan, sun, all those at the end of the names. Like if you ever were to watch any anime or whatever, and if they say something in Japanese, they say, like if this person's name is Tasukumi, they would say Tasukumi-san or Tasukumi-sun, or for females they say chan or jun or blah blah blah. Just all the honorifics are pretty much just their versions of sirs and just show seniority. Senpai is in a way an honorific. It's someone who's older than you in class usually. When I say class, I mean actual like high school class. Like if you're a senior and someone's a junior, you would be senpai. That type shit. So in case you're like, what the fuck is an honorific? That's what they mean. It's kind of rude in Japanese culture to just call somebody just by their name if you just met them. You usually try. Japan's a very polite culture, so you always have to try to add soon. Uh, you use a lot of please, thank yous, sorries, all that type of stuff. So that's why she was like, "Why the fuck is there no honorific?" And that's actually kind of joking, which is I would have thought out of character, but the way she did it, she didn't give much of a fuck. I don't. It's weird. She's accepted it, but doesn't. She's accepted the fact that she's going to die, but she's. I don't even know, because she's not interested in talking to people, but she can make all right conversation if she, but it's not really conversation, and she doesn't ever really look at anybody. She's. I don't know how to. I don't know personally. This is heavy as hell. This is heavy as hell. Super heavy. Man, okay. When the morning temperature taking ended, I got onto the elevator, trying not to be seen by the nurses. Coming to the first floor, deliberately passing through the entrance for the outpatients, I just kept walking out of the hospital. The destination was the place I was taught before. Not the nearby Station A, but the far Station B. It wasn't like I was planning on running away. The 7th floor or home. There was no one who died outside of those two stations. Outside of those two. Before that was what I heard. It also seemed that the girl called Satsumi had always gone many times to Station B. That's why, for no real reason, I simply felt like wanting to go to see that place once. It's not like there are guards around. Even so, us residents of 7th floor were different from other admitted patients. While also thinking about the but maybe, I continued walking on the street to the early morning station area. Glancing at our hurry, commuters and people going to school, I slowly moved on at a measured pace. After walking a while, taking about 25 minutes, I finally arrived before the station. In terms of bus stops, it was about 4's distance. In a way, there's quite a bit of people around. That was the first impression upon seeing Station B. Because my clothes were pajamas, I stood out somewhat. However, if just like this, I bought a train ticket, I felt could without a single problem go anywhere. Why was it not Station A, but this Station B that was recommended? I didn't know. However, if one were planning to run away, I thought it was a simple thing. Certainly the girl was also supposed to have come many times, but why was it that she still remained in the 7th floor even now, I wonder? Early morning before the station. While watching the people hurrying by, suddenly the thought occurred to me. That night, after the lights had been turned off, holding onto a book of manga, unable to sleep, I wandered around the ward alone. Normally wandering around after lights out would get one scolded badly, but us residents of the 7th floor were given a relative amount of freedom. And with the lights off, the usual lounge was pitch dark. There, I saw her figure. Hey, today you're looking outside? In the dark room, there was a response, but that face remained looking beyond the window. Immediately, I started talking about what happened during the day. That reminds me, this morning I went all the way to the station. Just like you told me, I went to see Station B. I see. But the girl's response was no different from usual. Because she was supposed to have gone before, I thought that there might have been some kind of reaction, but thinking about that, as well as how she still remained here, did it mean that she really had no intention of running away? I will soon be able to go home. Eh? Suddenly the girl opened her mouth. Words as if she had seen clear to my heart just now. But next is the third time after all. So we might not be able to meet anymore. That's right. Most likely, when she said that she would be able to go home, she was talking about a temporary discharge. In this place, called the 7th floor, being admitted more than 3 times, it apparently never happened. Especially unlike the elderly, when considering the rate of progression of disease, it was even more so for younger patients like us. With that kind of meaning came the words, "We won't meet again." Say, which would you choose? Choose what? Which one you plan on dying at? ... Suddenly hearing the word death, my words caught for just a moment. Well, I haven't thought about it yet. I see. Well, you're still on your first time. The girl spoke in a lonely murmur. Of course, I knew even I couldn't be here forever. Like everyone else, going in and out of the hospital, slowly weakening until someday, in the end, either the seventh floor or surrounded by thin smiles, it would come to a choice between those two, probably. I don't want home, but I don't want here either. Then what will you do? ... Nothing in particular. I won't do anything. While I'm still able to walk on my own, I'll just go somewhere. Somewhere? You? Even though it was obvious that if one wanted to run away, one could, this girl remained on the 7th floor. When I thought about that, do you have some other place to go? You want to pull me back? Eh? Or perhaps you want to come with me? No, I didn't mean it like that. Then don't ask. While gazing out the window, the girl spoke indifferently, as always. It had been a conversation where she did not even look in my direction. However, just that time, I saw her usual expressionless profile seemed sad. Taught that the 3rd temporary discharge would be the first time I've come to this 7th floor. And then a girl who would soon face her 2nd time. For me, I still couldn't really feel the things that were happening in reality, but someday, would I also come to make such a face? From before dawn, rain fell, occasionally also changing to either sleet or snow. It lightly continued coming down. Within that, I was in this usual place watching television. As always, the 7th floor, devoid of people. Is it interesting? Nope. Boring. The girl came from the other side. Exchanging only those words, she quietly sat in the folding chair next to me. And then today also, the two of us began gazing at the television. Surely the girl was also the same. There was nothing else to do. Nothing else she could do. Ah! Surprisingly, she responded to something on TV. Something the matter? Not particularly. The words were the same, not particularly, but it was a response that was different from the usual for that girl. Becoming interested, I turned my eyes to the screen. What was on screen was some kind of nature scene on a beautiful hill. Trees and flowers blended into a landscape. And focused on the screen were a great many white flowers. The flowers I remembered seeing before. They resembled the white flowers even now decorating the room by the windows. Are those the same flower? Look, aren't they exactly like these? While speaking, I pointed first at the screen, then towards the window. They're the same kind, but strictly speaking, they're different. Giving just a glance at the flowers by the window, the girl once again returned to gazing at the television while answering. To say the truth, even if she denied that they were the same to me, I didn't know the difference between the two. And anyways, for me, whether the flowers were the same or different, it didn't really matter. Instead of that, the girl normally would never participate in conversation. The girl surprisingly continued with her words. That's why I also tried to maintain the conversation. Are you maybe knowledgeable about this sort of thing? Not particularly. Really? But I can't tell the difference. The white flowers blooming beyond the screen, the flowers in the vase beyond the girl's profile. While vaguely looking at them both, I continued further with my words. So these are orchids or lilies? Look, they've got a whitish color, right? Even though I had no interest, I managed to continue speaking. However, the girl soon became like usual and fell silent. With her usual expression, she only gazed at the boring screen. And when I had given up on the possibility that she would take up the conversation and once again began to move my eyes back to the television, Narcissus. Eh? They're Narcissus. Oh. While answering, for the first time, she faced me. Swaying her long waist-length hair, she pointed at the flowers shown on the television. She looked at me. Just like that, just like the flowers displayed on the screen, there was a white vinyl bracelet wrapped around the wrist with white skin. The first time that I saw that face, I thought I saw the briefest of smiles. So we're quitting it here. Oh my god. This shit's heavy, dude. This shit's hella heavy. Seriously, like, this is seriously a heavy book. It's really, really cute. I like the art a lot. I like a lot about this book. I have a lot of quarrels with this book at the same time. But I have I like it a lot as well. It's a very deep, it's a very mature, not mature. It's a very deep book, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very deep in what it's talking about, and the fact that it's touching on such a topic that is true, and it's like people are our age and younger sitting in hospitals being told that they were gonna die soon. Like, that's a thing that happens. And honestly, there's another game that I want to play and put on the channel sometime soon that is similar to that. And honestly, this book is just really deep, man. It's dark, not dark. It's thought-provoking. Very thought-provoking. It's definitely something to experience, but it's heavy. It's very, very heavy. But all that being said, guys, it's been percolating. It's been real. I'm not gonna say it's been fun, because this has not been fun. This has been heart-wrenching. It's been real. It's been heart-wrenching. It's been real heart-wrenching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.